Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, May 12th, 2025. I am Dave Biddle. I'll be joined by Dan Rubin in just a moment. Dan and I are going to really give opinions on what we think, the depth chart might look like for the Buckeyes on offense and defense now that not only spring ball's in the rearview mirror, but pretty much the portal window. There's a chance, maybe a grad transfer could enter. So never say never, but it looks like the Buckeyes roster is pretty much set. So Dan and I are going to go through and give our opinions at different spots. I also want to get Dan's thoughts eventually on the Jim Knowles, the comments he made last Tuesday, because obviously Dan and I did the show last Monday. I haven't seen Dan's comments so far on what Knowles had to say. I'm curious. You guys heard me talk about it on Wednesday. Then you heard me talk about it on Friday with J-Book. So I'm curious what Dan thinks about what Jim Knowles had to say. Before we do that, I want to let you guys know about Cornbread Hemp. They keep coming up with cool new products. Look at this. Now they have THC seltzer. This is the peach iced tea version. THC seltzers. Look at this. Look at this. You guys know they have the only USDA approved THC gummy, 100% legal. Again, the only USDA approved THC legal THC gummy, and now they come up with this. These guys just keep coming up with great things. It's time to experience your healthy happy hour. And we can get you guys a great deal, whether you want the THC gummies, whether you want these. Come in a 4-pack. Awesome. Whether you want the THC gummies or the THC seltzers, we got you guys covered. Again, USDA approved, real THC, no synthetics, 100% legal hemp, fast and free shipping. All right, here you go. For a special offer for Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners, you can get 30% off your first order. Just visit cornbreadhemp.com/bucknuts. Use promo code Bucknuts at checkout. Again, that's cornbreadhemp.com/bucknuts. Use code Bucknuts for 30% off your first order. Cheers to a healthier happy hour. There we go. Dan is already talking about how his people that are close to him are very excited about the shipment that's on its way. Mine came earlier. Yeah, good to see you, my friend.
I just let my testers know that yours had arrived. Ours has not arrived yet from Cornbread Hemp, and I figure they're going to be my test case. So I'll be able to come back with a Mother's Day opinion on this whole thing. We shall see.
Okay, they're a great company from Kentucky. Dayton's closer to Kentucky than Columbus. I don't know what happened. It got lost in the mail, I guess. I would check your UPS delivery man. He might have just said, "Hey, let me get some of that cornbread hemp."
It's a heavy delivery, because in fact, there's canned juice in there, so it's a dead giveaway for the mailman. Let's hope it didn't.
Dead giveaway.
Get diverted.
Okay, so let's start with the offensive line. I'm like jazzed about this offensive line. It's crazy. If you just said it, Buckeyes are losing 2 offensive linemen, their first-round picks, and they're losing the Remington Award winner. It's like, oh, geez. But it really feels like they're just losing one starter in Donovan Jackson, because they didn't have Seth, and they had Seth for the first 10 games of the regular season. They didn't really have Josh Simmons. They didn't have him for half the year. They had him for like 5.5 games. And they weren't there for the college football playoff run. So, and then what they did with adding Onion was a plug-and-play left tackle. I think Daniels is probably going to be a top backup, because I like Saraveld at right tackle. Unless they like Daniels more than Tegra. I've talked about that, but I like how they have, Hinsman's back, Montgomery, all those guys that got that valuable experience. But I think Onion was the best get in the portal for the Buckeyes. I just am very excited about this offensive line. Now, we don't know how Tyler Bowen's going to do as a O-line coach yet. I think he's going to do okay. We know he's a good recruiter. Another thing, Dan, that I like is Ryan Day has like 3 support staff guys just working on the offensive line. So I love the way this offensive line is shaping up.
I would have to say Tyler Bowen's beyond a good recruiter to get started. He has hit the ground sprinting, as it were. I told Bill this. We discussed this. I felt like there was about a month stretch where it felt like we were offering, like you could tell they decided we need to beef up offensive line recruiting and redouble their efforts. And I think it's going to pay off. If you see the class of 2026 is coming together just beautifully up front. In terms of the offensive line, I think you nailed it. If you look at like a general depth chart, That's one to not put out by the school. A lot of people put these out. I think you'll see a little bit more Philip Daniels in there than Austin Searveld. But as you mentioned, Ryan Day has made it pretty clear that Austin Searveld will be a starter. By the way, I love that. If I have to say the one thing I love most about this offensive line, I'm not saying I probably wasn't didn't have enough foresight or vision to do this, but the fact that there were so many injuries last year and everybody had to probably get learned up on some different stuff. Now, keep in mind, we saw Donovan Jackson move to left tackle. They were a couple of injuries away from having to make a lot more moves. So you can also bet the guys got more snaps in practice at different spots too, that we haven't really even discussed that as much. So that's encouraging. I'll tell you what, when I started thinking about guys who could really boost their draft stock this year, I'll tell you who came to mind, especially was Carson Hinsman. People are going to look at him and be like, that guy has been through the ringer. He's started, been benched, played in a ton of huge games, and he's going to have another year in the weight room. I have a feeling Carson Hinsman's going to have a tremendous year. Aside from that, I agree with everything you said. I think right guard with Tegra would be the only place I could see some, rotation. Put it this way. If Tegra wasn't starting come this first game, it wouldn't shock me. But otherwise, I would go with exactly what you said. And a little bit unproven, I guess, across the board. I mean, Ethan Onyeonwo, I agree with you in that he was the top recruit we got. And we also know that people have said he could have been a highly drafted player, second-day pick. He's in the catbird seat, too, for improving his stock. See Simmons, Josh. Anyone who said we were getting a first-round draft pick when they got a commitment from a right tackle from San Diego State, that, let's be fair, not one person on the site knew who he was before he committed. The fact that he turned into what I was told by people I trust, and the pundits will tell you this, he probably would have been the first or second tackle picked had he not been injured. That is incredible. Does that mean I'm more optimistic for Ethan Onyeonwo? Yes. And I guess they really don't have much to do with each other except they're on the same team. But I think offensive line is actually pretty solid. I wouldn't say I have a ton of worries with it. And like I said also before, love the idea of having a veteran center in front of a new starter at quarterback. Sometimes we've had a new center and a new quarterback in there at times and get a little weird.
I love the depth, and they have the different pieces they can move around. Let's say for some reason one of the guards gets hurt. Now, I know you didn't move Searveld. Let's say Searveld's the tackle. You can move him inside. But let's say you want to leave Searveld. If he is the right tackle, you want to leave him there. One of the guards, unfortunately, gets hurt. You could then move Hinsman to guard and bring in Padilla at center because they really like Padilla. And Padilla is no longer, he's a redshirt freshman now. He's now entering his third year. He already was strong as an ox. You know me, I love my former wrestlers. This kid never got a chance to wrestle his senior year because he enrolled early. But as a junior at Wayne, he was 1 point away from winning the state heavyweight wrestling championship. That's a tough way to end your wrestling career.
It is.
Junior, you lose the state. But just getting there, being the state runner-up in heavyweight wrestling. So Padilla, and he's a backup, but he's one of those top backups. Ian Moore's another guy I think is going to add depth. If Daniels is not a starter, that's great depth. If Daniels is the right tackle and Searveld's the right guard, because you're right, Brian Day said flat out Searveld's going to start. Not sure if it's right tackle or right guard, but he will start. And then if it's Daniels at right tackle, Austin at right guard, then all of a sudden Tegra is a great backup with all the experience he has now entering his fourth year. I tend to think Tegra is going to be a starter. What's funny to me is Daniels was actually ranked higher in the transfer portal rankings than Onyeonwo. I'm like, I know these guys are trying to rank 1,000 guys, but it's and maybe you get more points because Daniels has 3 years of eligibility, but just looking at this year, it's not even close. I agree with Bill Kurlick. He did a story, and I was going to do one. It's so funny that Bill did this. I was seriously going to do a story ranking Ohio State's transfer portal guys 1 through 10. I think Bill and I had the exact order. I had already written it out before I saw Bill did his story for the site yesterday. He had Onyeonwo number 1. People are like, come on, Max Clare. I get it. Max Clare is definitely I understand why he's ranked higher. But for Ohio State's purposes, to get a big 6'6", 340-pound man-child who a lot of people thought would have been a second-round pick in this year's draft, to come in and be plug and play at left tackle. To me, that is just a great get in the portal. And he was highly underrated in the portal too.
I think generally speaking, to piggyback on something I said earlier, they have really either last year was a learning experience or something they had expected to happen. They have gone overboard's not really. In the new era, they have really focused on the offensive line. They did do really well with the transfer before, but you can see, like you just said, you're going through the names. How many teams really in this era where the big man has become so valuable, how many teams have this kind of depth? If you go look across the board, there just aren't that many. So it's not just the starters. We've learned that. In a 16-game season, or in the NFL season, how many offensive lines start and finish intact of 32 teams? I mean, I'd have to guess. It wouldn't be very high. It'd be in the below 10. I don't think that. So we're getting used to that in college, where you're starting to play almost an NFL level season lengthwise. And they got caught last year. I mean, obviously, still basking. It all worked out. But learning on the fly and still winning the championship is a good way to do things. I would suggest that going forward. Yeah, very excited about the offensive line. You mentioned Padilla. Man, I'll tell you what. A guy that big, who's that good of a wrestler, you do not want to see that dude in a bar fight. Okay?
No.
That's like literally the last person on earth you want to see.
Do you see cauliflower ear? I saved one of my friends' lives, I think, at one point. Bought a guy with cauliflower ear. Because my buddy's tall. This guy's short. Like, this guy will kill you. Like, it doesn't matter how tall you are. This guy's cauliflower ear. He will destroy you. So I bought the guy beer. So I don't want to see you get arrested for murder. I don't want my friend to get killed.
Right.
There we go. Everything was cool with cauliflower ear after that. Yeah, I mean, and I'm serious. I mean, I don't know why more people don't talk about how, like, if I'm a high school football coach, I know you can't make them, but if I'm a high school football coach and my players are not playing a winter sport, I'm having them on the wrestling team. Even if they get their butts kicked just practicing and wrestling, it's so good for football players. And there's just a long list of people we could mention. So yeah, man, I love what we're seeing on this offensive line. All right, let's move along. Let's go to quarterback. This is pretty obvious. I mean, Julian Sayin now there's two ways to look at this. Ryan Day's not lying. Okay. Was he not lying? Was he not lying when he said it was Justin Fields and Gunnar Hoke was a legit battle going in? No, this is not that. This is not that. Because there's being honest for football coach standards, and then there's being honest for regular people standards. Football coaches cannot be honest all the time with the media. They have to. Lying is part of the game. Now, this doesn't mean he's lying when he says it's 50-50. I tend to think Julian Sayin's going to be the quarterback, and I'll be very surprised if he's not. He has the 5th best odds to win the Heisman, Julian Sayin does. Now, I like Lincoln Kienholz, though. I am thrilled he's on the team, but are you with me on that? Are you like pretty much convinced, if not convinced, that Julian's the guy, or what do you think?
I am. I'll say this to preface that. You're completely accurate on coaches. In fact, I almost have a policy that if they're in front of a microphone, anybody in sports, really anybody in life, I don't necessarily take it seriously. I'm a jaded media member.
Right.
I've also had enough sources or people that I know that are the ones being interviewed that I know they're not telling the truth. I've had people tell me ahead of time what they're going to say, and we both know it's not the truth, and then they say it on whatever. So there's that. And I'll say this, as coaches go, I would actually put Ryan Day in the really goes out of his way not to lie explicitly category. He's really good at talking around it, or maybe kind of answering the question with not out answering. Because I don't get this. This is me maybe being just some homerism here. I hold him on a little bit. I think Ryan's actually a good dude.
Oh, yeah.
I've covered some football coaches who I will tell you firsthand, reference, not good dudes.
Right.
So I just don't think Ryan Day is a human being, enjoys lying. That could be me leaping off this page here if I'm doing that.
Right.
You're on Bucknuts,
right.
So good Lord. Yeah. So I can tell at times when he's dancing around the answer he would give had he been attached to a lie detector. So I don't really worry about that as much with him. As far as quarterback goes, yeah, I think it's pretty obvious. I was thinking about this explicitly when we decided to do the show. We're going to get to see Kienholz play quarterback. more than you think right now. And that's just the law of averages, dude. Go back and look. I would be willing to bet something serious that Julian Sand doesn't start doesn't start and complete 16 games. Okay. That's very unlikely. Back to it. Back in the NFL, we're back to it. That's a lot of asks. So we're going to get to see the both of them. I do think it's pretty clear right now that Sand's going to be the starter. I have actually seen there was enough for me in the spring game, some zip, some a little something that I was like, okay, here we go. And let's just be honest about this. Who you should select as the starter? Whoever is better at getting the ball to Jeremiah Smith. Okay.
Right.
Now I realize that's a hyperbolic statement, but you've got arguably the best receiver of all time on your team. That's not, keep in mind, I'm saying that, and no one, even the people from Michigan who are watching the show, still basking, agree with that. Everyone. So look, when in doubt, throw it to number 4. We cannot come out of a game this year where it's like, we should have done more of. Throw it to number 4. We know now he's on the team. Don't do that. So whoever's better at getting the ball to number 4, I'm not even kidding about this. If they kind of struggle with the rest of the guys, but they have some magical connection with 4, he should start. Now I'm hoping that's Julian Sand, but it's an embarrassment of riches, really. The skill players, even with the running back change. So I was looking at that. We probably may never have a running back combination like that ever again.
Right.
That's such a unique blend of circumstances to have 2 of the 4 best running backs in the country. And by the way, Judkins was viewed by the NFL like I viewed him. You could tell. So we'll go from there. But I just believe where the talent level is so high, the coaching is so good, and the surrounding cast is so good. I don't know if you're going to have to even play. I mean, they open up with Texas, who, by the way, has a first-time real starter as well. That's another thing I don't get. People have anointed Arch Manning to be a superhero already. Listen, I'm very impressed, but to be that he's looked at the way like he didn't turn out this way. He's looked at the way like Trevor Lawrence was looked at, where it's like we're not even discussing it. He's number 1. We'll discuss 2 and on. And I don't get that. But yeah, I trust in Ryan Day. Is this case here, and also I'm not worried about Hartline as the offensive coordinator. The guy has crushed every challenge he's ever taken. Maybe he was thrust in there earlier the last time. He's had a chance to learn from the best. So I'm literally not worried about that at all. Is it going to be Chip Kelly? Of course not, dude. Only one team on earth can have Chip Kelly. One. And it's the Raiders now. That probably won't work. That's shocking.
They're paying him $6 million. But yeah, I think Hartline's ready. And the great thing is, and I don't think it's going to come to this, and we don't want it to. Ryan Day doesn't want it to. Nobody does. But if it goes south for some reason, then Ryan Day will just take over play calling. Again, he wants to stay in that CEO role, and I think that's great. The first year he did it, they won the national championship. Still basking. All right, before we get to more, we're going to talk about real quick. I want to wrap up the wide receivers, though. Like every year, speaking of Hartline, he says, yeah, the number 4 receiver is going to get a lot of playing time this year. That was Brandon Ennis last year. And Ennis got a decent amount of playing time. He had some big plays in the CFP run. He played throughout the season. Did he have a ton of targets? No. What do you average? Maybe a 1.5. I'll have to go back and look at the stats. Maybe 1.5 catches per game, something like that. Is this going to be the year the number 4 receiver actually plays a lot? Because Hartline usually only plays the top 3 guys a lot. Mylan Graham's probably going to be the number 4 receiver, and he looked great in the spring. You also have Quincy Porter, probably is the number 5. Bryson Rogers is the number 6, because you obviously have JJ is the 1. You have Carnell Tate's the 2. Ennis is the 3. And then Mylan Graham. I tend to think Mylan Graham's going to play a little bit more than Ennis did last year, but we shall see. All right, before we move on, I want to let you guys know about Huel. The Huel Black Edition ready to drink is a meal in a bottle. Yeah, it's a meal that you drink. One bottle contains 35 grams of protein, 27 minerals, and is low in sugar. Huel is a perfectly balanced meal designed by nutrition experts. It takes the guesswork out of healthy eating. It's a great product, and we have a great deal for you guys. All right, new customers, visit Huel.com/Bucknuts. Use our code Bucknuts to get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. Huel is amazingly convenient. No prep, no hassle. Just grab it and open. It also tastes good. If it didn't taste good, I wouldn't be endorsing it. This is their vanilla right here. I've used up all my chocolate. I'll have to re-up, but the vanillas taste great too. They also have strawberry, banana, and a bunch of other stuff. It tastes good. New customers, visit Huel.com/Bucknuts today. Use my code Bucknuts to get 15% off your first order plus a free gift. I'm telling you, if you want a healthy meal and you're commuting to work or whatever it might be, get some Huel. Fuel up with Huel. All right, here we go.
Fuel on the way there and cornbread hump on the way back.
Oh, maybe once you get back,
get a liquid diet going there. Well,
maybe once you get back, maybe don't do the cornbread. Well,
if you're carpooling, you can do it.
There you go. There you go. All right. So running back, you kind of touched on this. It's like, yeah, I mean, you and I missed Archie and Pete. Archie Griffin and Pete Johnson. Archie doesn't need a last name, Pete Johnson. But other than that, Q and Trey will go down as the best running back tandem at Ohio State ever. And I agree with you. We're not going to see it again. I still can't believe it happened.
I can't.
I just, for Q to come here and then for Trey not to be upset about it. I mean, these guys would like go to church. I mean, that 40 guys on the team would go to church together. It wasn't just those two. And you'd see them during the national championship run on the bench, just like yucking it up and laughing. And like they were boys. Like that would never happen typically, especially at running back. Like you're going to hate the guy that you're going up against typically. But he's created a great culture over there, Ryan Day has. That's a big reason that happened. But I tell you what, man, despite the fact that they're losing the second best tailback tandem in the history of the program, in my opinion, I still like where they're at with running backs. I believe in James Peoples. I think he's going to have a really good year. I think C.J. Donaldson was a good get in the portal. And Bo Jackson's coming in ready to roll. And they have other guys as well, Sam Williams-Dixon, the other true freshman with Isaiah West and Turbo Rogers. But Bo Jackson's the one I think is going to play a lot as a true freshman. I like that top three a lot.
I like it. I don't like it as much as last year for sure. In fact, when I look at the roster, we haven't talked about this much. That might be the biggest drop-off. Now, it's unproven. And running back is one of those positions where you can just show up and kick tail day one. It's a natural position. So, and I'm a James Peoples guy, but expecting James Peoples to be as good as Trey or Quinshon Judkins year one, I don't find that to be realistic. I mean, Dave, I had a man crush on Judkins. You know this for a long time. I actually would have drafted him after his sophomore year to the Cowboys out of Ole Miss. When he was coming to the Buckeyes, that's almost when I knew. Someone asked me, when did you know? That might have been it. That might have been the tipping point to when I really thought, because like I've told you, I'm not sure I've always really felt we had the most talent in the, you know what I mean? Even that team we go back to talk about had LSU looming. You know what I'm saying? When we got Quinshon Judkins, that's when you started to be like, this is ridiculous. This is embarrassingly great. Anyway, and it worked out beautifully. And I'm actually happy that he'll be on local TV. They're the Browns. They should be loving him. Shocker who the Cowboys were targeting in the second round. He didn't get there. Quinshon Judkins. So that's to be TBD. I like the idea of Donaldson. He's slimmed down and looks explosive, but I'll tell you this. I think that Trey and Quinshon, because of what also happened with the Detroit Lions, I think that's going to be the trend now. It's probably righteous that the way guys have gotten so big, strong, and fast and hit so hard, it's probably not realistic to ask one guy who isn't Derrick Henry to take the ball 30 times a game anymore. Remember, that used to be the talk of running backs. His last 15 carries, he really gets going. He really wears the defense down. They don't do that anymore. We pass so much. There aren't that many opportunities to build up carries. And I think tandem is the way to go. And we've seen it in the pros. You can see teams doing it in the pros too. You can see them going for the fire and ice. The Ohio State's clearly done the same. I'm not sure Quinshon and Trey were really fire and ice as much as just two studs. But I got faith that Bo Jack, a true freshman getting a lot of carries. I'm trying to think back to when I know that has happened.
Travion.
But it's not common. Who?
Travion did. J.K. Dobbins.
Travion was incredible as a freshman. That's true. J.K. Yeah. It's almost like they got less. Yeah. So we'll see. I think that's running back's a complete unknown to me. If you told me that Donaldson was going to be the leading rusher, if you told me People was going to be the leading rusher, I wouldn't be surprised.
Donaldson would surprise me unless Peoples got hurt. I'm pretty convinced. All things being equal, I think Peoples will lead this team in rushing. I'm convinced of that.
I would say that Vegas would bet on that, but the fact is we just haven't seen it. So it's very popular. I would bet on that, but it'd be very, very interesting. It's just we're not going to have the luxury we did last year, especially here. I got to see both those guys, Donaldson and Peoples, block. You got a a first-year starter at quarterback, and protecting him is vital. And if you watched any draft coverage, one thing they said about Trey and Quinshon Judkins, tremendous pass blocking. We've had probably three of the better. Zeke and these two guys are three of the better blocking back, and you're going to need that. So just unknowns. The talent isn't the issue. It's just, can you do it? I'm hoping Donaldson is at least a third down guy with his size that you can put in there confidently to block.
I missed your shout out to Bob Dylan, like a complete unknown, like a Rolling Stone. I tell you what, I told you guys last week that I don't do many movie reviews, but A Complete Unknown is fantastic. The Bob Dylan movie with Timothy Chalamet playing Dylan. I watched it again. That's how good it is. Love that movie. I love Bob Dylan anyway.
I'll tell you what, one of the
cat. Bob Dylan might be the coolest cat to ever walk this planet. Seriously, he is the definition of cool. Go back. I can't believe this is even as riveting as it is. There's a real press conference from 1965. You guys can look it up. 1965 San Francisco, Bob Dylan. Look it up. It is awesome. He is the coolest guy that's ever walked this planet. Anyway, I love that you're giving shout outs, even unintentionally.
I got a shout out, Dave. How about this? One of the best scenes in any movie ever is Dazed and Confused when they walk into the pool hall and they're playing Hurricane by Bob Dylan.
Yes.
If you ever want to capture what a feeling is like to walk in a bar and think you're the cat's meow, that's it. And that made me go get Hurricane, which is about the movie where Denzel Washington plays the boxer who was falsely accused of murder. I don't remember.
Yeah, Rubin.
Hurricane. Yeah, that 2 minutes when they walk in with McConaughey and Randall Pink Floyd.
Right.
Beat.
Yep. Oh yeah, Reuben Carter. Reuben Carter was falsely tried. The case was murder one. Guess who testified? All right. We'll move on from Bob Dylan. Now let's just talk Bob Dylan the rest of the show. No, I'm kidding. All right, tight end before we move on to defense. This is, I hate when I go down a road, I feel like this is like hyperbole. I don't think this is hyperbole. This is the best tight end room on paper entering a season. Things can change that I can remember at Ohio State. When you talk about talent and depth, those two things combined. Max Clare, Jelani Thurman, Will Kazmarek, who they described, the Ohio State's coaches, as the best blocking tight end in the country. Bennett Christian got a decent amount of run on the national championship team. I mean, bringing Max Clare in is that's a luxury item. They didn't even necessarily need Max Clare. This might be the best tight end room I can remember at Ohio State, Dan.
Max Clare is beyond a luxury item. If you go look up, I'm pretty sure he has the most either receptions or receiving yards of any tight end in college football that's returning, which is kind of like, I don't want to say embarrassment of riches again, but when you can just go pluck the best tight end in the country, theoretically, from one of your rivals. I'm not putting Purdue, at least a conference rival.
Right.
This goes back to the beauty of being in the state of Ohio. The state of Ohio, I mean, I got to go back and look. I guess California would now rival that, but no state in the Big Ten has produced this many Ohio Division I football players and quality ones, is why they're always so good. And if you look at some of the theory or some of the trend here, the Minnesota, Philly Daniels coming back, and Claire from Purdue, and there are others that kind of go intern elsewhere until they're Ohio State ready and come back. If you look also, by the way, Claire was third team All Big Ten. The top two guys got drafted really high.
Yes.
I mean, Colston Loveland, that was the first pick of the draft where I was like, what is going on? Now, I will say this. Colston Loveland was one of the main reasons they lost in Ann Arbor, our inability to cover the tight end all season. I knew it was going to be an issue, and it was. Thankfully, now he did not play in last year's game. Let's not talk about that one. Now they have the tight end eliminator and Caleb Downs back there. So they're in good shape. Yeah, great at tight end. Deep. Jelani Thurman's listed like third or fourth on the depth chart. That actually spooked me out a little bit. I'm going to make sure we are here to reap the benefits of his talent when he kind of matures. I don't want him to hit the portal. So it's, they've kind of got a nice, like you said, they've almost got a professional tight end room, and where you have kind of the main guy who can do a little of both. You got a blocker, you got a downfield guy, you kind of got the athletic project guy. If you go look at the way NFL teams construct their tight end room, that's pretty much how they do it. Very, very talented. You will see this as the draft pundits put together their way too early 2026 draft. Max Clare is such a well-known name. You're going to see him, and I have, at the end of the first round in some mock drafts. Now, It's very hard to be drafted in the first round as a tight end. So even if he's not drafted in the first round, I don't think that would mean anything negative. But the fact that his name is up there already lets you know the idea of getting a plug-and-play tight end, that's beyond that. That's beyond plug-and-play. That's literally going to the rest of the country and hand-picking a tight end, and that's Max Clare. So, and they were already pretty solid there. So I would agree with you. In terms of just having an answer for every situation, tight end's probably the strongest it's ever been, at least in recent memory, 15 years or so.
And I don't know how he's going to see the field because of all these guys we've already mentioned, but I got to say that Nate Roberts, for a true freshman, looked pretty good. He should still be in high school this past spring. Nate Roberts is going to be a player. He'll probably be one of those guys that doesn't redshirt. Maybe he will redshirt, but won't play that much because he might be too good to redshirt. They might get him out there a little bit. Who knows? You can lose depth quickly in football, but yeah, he's another one that looks good. It's crazy. He wasn't even really on my radar entering spring. I was like, are you serious? They have all these guys? Like, how is this possible? All right.
Nate Roberts, long-term, is Max Clare-ish.
Yeah, and bigger.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, bigger. Yeah. He's already 235, whereas Claire's barely over that right now. All right, so you made a great point. Like, Jelani Thurman was one of two guys that got a lot of people asking me, well, are you worried this guy's going to enter the portal? Jelani Thurman and then CJ Hicks. And it says a lot. Again, the culture that Ryan Day has built. Again, this is not hyperbole. It's real. The brotherhood's real. When I say half the team goes to church together every week, they do. And whether you think of religion, I think that just builds – it's good for bonding. They go out to eat together, just stuff like that. When you have half the team doing it or more, it's just really cool. So let's go to defensive end. So I really like what's going on defensive end. We'll get to D tackle in a moment, but especially getting Bo Atkinson in the portal, getting Logan George in the winter portal. They really like him. So you got Caden Curry, Kenyatta Jackson, Logan George, Bo Atkinson. I'm not really going in order here. You got CJ Hicks, and you got Zion Grady. It's a pretty good top six right there, however you want to work at. Those are six guys that you can do a lot of damage with, in my opinion.
No question. The way I look at it is the depth is something that we're going to be reliant upon. When I went and looked at the group today, and I even included defensive tackles in this, there are combinations we don't know yet that are going to work. My hope is they're going to work. They've got so many dudes in there. Put it this way, I'm not sure they've ever had this. I think they've got a lot of contributors, enough contributors. It's just interesting. They have such unproven guys in terms of being starters. I mean, our guy Bo is probably the most accomplished by starting.
Right. And Logan George would be second, but that's Idaho State.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. So I don't really know. I have a feeling that whatever combination of four guys you can come up with, including the defensive tackle, there's a combination in there. There's a matrix in there that's going to work, but I just have no idea what it is right now. Keep in mind, defensive linemen like offensive linemen, there is somewhat of this guy complements this guy complements that guy a little bit. We didn't see that for the last few years because we had four NFL caliber guys up there who weren't, you know what I'm saying, they're the most established group ever. And if you look the way they were drafted, it's pretty self-explanatory. So I'm very comfortable when I look at the massive names. But for me to tell you right now what I think the magic combination of four up there would be, I don't know. I'm relying, and this is somewhat a leap of faith, and I'm relying on the coaches in that because the guys are not proven. I mean, Tyleik Williams and Ty Hamilton were the most proven guys you could ever have up there. They had so many snaps, and defensive tackle so key. Tyleik Williams, it's hard to get drafted in the first round as defensive tackle. I had two people tell me he was the best run stuffing tackle in the draft. And Tyleik also gets a little pass rush for you. So that's why he snuck into the first round. I'm not sure it's realistic to expect anybody to play that well or to be that good. But I think in mass, if you look at the massive names, they have the ability to withstand a few injuries. They've got some depth. They've got some experience. Someone's going to need to break out. We just haven't seen these guys take this many snaps. So it'd be hard for me to give you names and who I think is going to star, but I'm confident in the group, if that makes any sense.
That's how I feel too. I think Atkinson might be the guy that we look at that might end up putting up the best stats. He was very productive in North Carolina last year, particularly last half of the season. He really, I don't know if dominate is too strong of a word, but played really, really well throughout the year, but really played well like down the stretch. So I think that's a really good get. And then Logan George, they really like him. He was very productive. Again, Idaho State's a massive jump, but still going from Idaho State to Ohio State, obviously. But it wasn't just that he was productive there. They were very pleasantly surprised with him in the spring. They already liked him or they wouldn't have brought him in, but they were, as Larry Johnson said, very pleasantly surprised. All right. We're not surprised. We're just, we love Mando. I don't know what I'm trying to say here. Mando is America's #1 whole body deodorant for men. I highly recommend it to you guys. As I've said, if you've been using the same deodorant for years, maybe decades, like I was, it's time to try something new and something better. And that's where Mando comes into play. Do you want to try America's #1 whole body deodorant right now? Yes, it's made in America. You can go find the products at Walmart, Target, Meijer, other retailers across our great country. For the best deals, go to shopmando.com. Mando starter pack is perfect for new customers. It comes with a solid stick deodorant. It comes with a cream tube deodorant. That's what this is. 2 free products of your choice and free shipping. As a special offer for our listeners, new customers get $5 off a starter pack with our exclusive code. That equates to over 40% off your starter pack. Use code BUCKNUTS at shopmando.com, shopmando.com. Please support our show and tell them that we sent you. Smell fresher, stay drier, and boost your confidence from head to toe with Mando. And ladies out there, they also have Lumi. It's the same company. Lumi for women, Mando for men. There you go. I think sometimes people, I don't know if our advertisers know we have a lot of ladies that listen to the show, Dan. We probably should let them know.
I know that Lumi's commercial you're talking about. I cannot get to the mute button fast enough. She makes me uncomfortable, but I'll just go ahead.
She's a doctor, and I know what you're saying. She also came up with both products. Yeah, I know. All right, moving right along. Back to Bob Dylan. No. D-tackle. Ugh. I mean, quarterback is definitely a question mark because I think Julian Sand's going to be good, a good starting quarterback at Ohio State, a very good starting quarterback at Ohio State. But when? Is it going to be week 1 against Texas as a redshirt freshman? Is it going to be midseason as a redshirt freshman? Is it going to be toward the end of the year? Is it going to be third-year sophomore before he becomes a really good starting quarterback? I don't know. So that's a question mark, but it's not a huge concern for me this year. D-tackle is. When Ryan Day's concerned, I'm concerned. Caden McDonald, Edric Houston, not concerned about that, Dan Rubin. I love those guys, and they complement each other well with Caden being that big one tech. I think he's going to have a big year as a junior. Now, Edric moving in, bulking up to about 285, 290. I think he's going to have a big year, second year in the program. But, man, the depth just isn't there. They have guys. They have Eric Mensah, Tywone Malone, Will Smith Jr., and Jason Moore, but they couldn't find anybody in the portal. So depth is just a huge issue there. I do think Matt Patricia is going to mitigate that, Dan, by using more odd fronts, especially with all these DNs we're talking about. And some of the linebackers can play kind of a DN role as well, outside linebacker role in a 3-4. I think we're going to see more odd fronts from the Buckeyes this year. But, man, D-tackle, big concern depth-wise.
I saw some people on here say that they thought Edric Houston could be just as good as Tyleik Williams, maybe long-term, but he's a lot smaller. Tyleik Williams is what, 330, 325?
He played bigger than that. He said he was probably up there. He's probably closer to like 345. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. He was listed at 330. Yep.
Edric Houston, I mean, that's not 2 sandwiches short. That's a lot of time there.
No.
Also, Edric, I don't think is the classic defensive tackle. I'm totally confident in Edric Houston, the player, but another year in the weight room and the strength program and nutrition, all that, we better off for him. I've said this before. You can make an argument that Caden McDonald being first team All Big Ten would be the most important thing that could happen, because you would have a guy to build around and a stud who would do it he's been the Flash Gordon of the defensive line, made some incredible plays, Texas goal line stand, badass, but just unproven in terms of number of snaps. Now, I will say this. You can get it done up front with depth if you're talented enough. We were spoiled to have 4 guys who were going to start every game, but I'm pretty confident that, I mean, there are going to be some games where they probably are going to have to really stop the run inside against a bigger team. I don't really know who that would be, but they're going to have to get it done with depth. Now, look, could 2 guys emerge? That's another thing. When you give all these dudes playing time extended for the first time, some guys take it and run with it. Some guys are just better as starters. You put them in there and you're like, wow. Now, I can't guarantee that. But I think they have enough dudes. Do they have a guarantee? It's kind of how I feel about the defensive ends. I just think we're going to get used to a rotation, fresh legs. How about that as a novel concept for the defensive line? Fresh legs, snap counts where 6 guys are similar, as opposed to 4 guys getting 100 snaps and a few guys getting 6 or 7. Those days are done, I hope. Patricia also, for what it's worth, was known as a rotation guy, their defensive lines. The Patriots were big on odd fronts and changing things up and forcing you to learn to block multiple fronts. So trust in Pat, not Murphy in this case, but which I usually do.
So linebacker, I love. I mean, James Laurinaitis loves the top 3. Doesn't matter what I love. I mean, I tend to agree with him, though. But seriously, they love these guys. Patricia talked about it, too. You talk about Sonny Styles, Arvell Reese, Peyton Pierce. They love those guys. We got to figure out who the 4th one is. It might be Riley Pettijohn as a true freshman, maybe TJ Alford, maybe Garrett Stover. But I think it'll either be Riley or TJ. But, man, they love these top 3. I mean, obviously, Sonny was a starter on the national championship team. Now entering his 2nd year as a full-time linebacker. I think he's going to go out with a big senior year. I think Arvell is a future star, meaning this coming year. I think he's going to break out. And then Peyton Pierce, another guy, former wrestler, Dan. You know, I love my former wrestlers or football players, but they love Peyton Pierce. I mean, as I've said before, James, I say this all the time because it's a very high praise come from James Laurinaitis when he calls you an absolute natural middle linebacker. And then Matt Patricia said, you know, when Peyton Pierce gets his hands on you, you're going to feel it. Like, you know, they just said he's just an in-the-box middle linebacker. And it's twofold. It's great having him as a great middle-of-the-box linebacker. It frees up Arvell Reese now. You can use him in the middle. You can move him around a little bit, more of a chess piece now. Man, I like these top 3 linebackers a lot.
Arvell Reese is the most werewolfish player on the roster right now in terms of
I like that.
A werewolf, when he goes to tackle you, it looks like he's tackling the person behind you. Does that make sense? Just kind of goes through you. You're almost like the Matrix in some way. I mean, I have super high hopes for Arvell Reese in terms of, you want to talk about guys who have an NFL future and fit the prototype of whatever you would want out of a modern middle linebacker. He fits it. Sonny Styles also has a chance, I think, to improve he's going to be one of the faces of the team. You're going to get to hear plenty of Sonny talk. He'll be one of the main guys out there. I think he can make reservations for Big Ten Media Days in Vegas. He'd be number 1 on my list. Wouldn't you? Am I jumping off a limb there? I didn't think so.
No, he'll wear the block O.
Yeah. And Sonny came in here with the highest of evaluations. And has he been that guy? Maybe not. He's been tremendous, underrated. I think one of the things with Sonny is our expectations were so incredibly high that anytime Jadon Blue, former future Cowboy, beats him deep for a touchdown, we freak out. It happens. I'm very optimistic. Sonny's also he's He's the kind of guy you want to build around mentally, physically, all that stuff. So I'm very confident that he's still getting better. Like I said, Reese, incredible. Pierce, like you said, if you're going to draw up the middle linebacker, he's not, and when we say the classic middle linebacker, he's not just tackle to tackle guy, stereotype in the middle. He's got some speed. He's got some range. And again, played in Texas, like Riley Pettijohn. Is there good football in Texas? Last time I checked, it's decent.
Pretty good.
So he's battle tested. And you've mentioned what you've heard about Pierce. We don't hear that stuff consistently over a year unless it's true. You'll hear some hype sometimes about a guy, and then it'll start to die down and be like, oh, the coaches, he got revealed in practice or something. The Pierce chat is going this way, which means they thought it. Now they've seen it. Now they're ready for you to see it, which I'm psyched about.
And then a new coach comes in and he sees it too. That's another thing. It's like James has been around him. James recruited him. Heck, if James was still at Notre Dame, Peyton would be at Notre Dame right now. But for Patricia to come in and just gush about him after 2 weeks, I think we're like 2 weeks into spring ball and Patricia was just gushing about him.
Yeah.
All right. BIA, best in America. They were last year, the secondary. There's no doubt about it. And Buckeyes are losing 3 draft picks. Lathan Ransom, great year last year. Denzel Burke, not the year we wanted. Still a 4-year starter. Most starts ever at corner in Ohio State history. 5th-round pick. I think that was a good pick by the Cardinals who are loading up on Buckeyes.
They are.
Jordan Hancock, also a 5th-round pick. I think that was a steal.
Great pick.
Yeah, a lot of people had him projected like a 6th or 7th rounder. I'm like, what am I missing here? So at least 5th round. I would have been surprised that he lasted till the 5th round with all these mock drafts that had him going in the 6th or 7th. So I was actually happy he went in the 5th. So, okay, get the disclaimer out of the way. Don't like losing those guys. Those guys had good years, especially Lathan and especially Jordan. But I think they're going to be BIA again. I mean, IGB coming back was big. I really thought he was probably going to turn pro. That's big getting him back as a senior. Jermaine Matthews basically played starter snaps during the CFP run. He's going to be a really good starter now.
Really good.
You got the other, the young 5-star corners with Devin Sanchez. Even though he's a true freshman, he doesn't look like a true freshman. He looks like an NFL corner physically. Even the way he handles himself when he meets with the media, Devin's very, very mature. He's definitely going to play. Aaron Scott's definitely going to play. Having those guys as backups is a massive luxury. You have Lorenzo Styles Jr. in the slot, most likely. They've tried some other guys out there. Like Jermaine can play in the slot. And if they like Devin Sanchez or Aaron Scott, they feel like we need to start one of those guys, and you can put Jermaine Matthews in the slot and start Devin or Aaron on the outside. But Lorenzo Styles Jr., I think, had a good spring. I think he's going to be the guy. But they have other guys they can use there. Bryce West can play there. Like I said, Jermaine Matthews can play there. Miles Lockhart can play there. Then, of course, at safety, I'll be quick here and I'll turn it over to you. Obviously, having the best player and defensive player in college football back is a nice luxury in Caleb Downs. And then losing Lathan hurts, but I do think Jalen McClain's going to have a good year. I think he's going to be the starter. Malik Hartford's going to be the top backup safety. And then Fahim Delane, Inky Jones, they'll provide some depth there at safety. Fahim Delane came in ready to roll. Inky Jones always looks good, even though are walk-ons even still a thing anymore? He came to Ohio State as a walk-on. I think then he got a scholarship. But, yeah, I mean, I'll be shocked if they're not the best in America again in the secondary.
There's a lot to talk about here because there's a lot of good stuff.
A lot of massive stuff.
Yeah. That's a little search engine optimization there for you guys. A little quick test. I think that's what they're referring to, but how would I know?
They're all Columbus Crew fans. That's why they're all saying massive, right? Right? No, that's not why.
So let's start with the best. Caleb Downs is so good that every discussion of the draft now, the real people will be like, has a safety ever been picked number 1 overall? The answer to that is no. I heard people go through this. Back in the day, offensive lineman, an offensive guard, a fullback has been picked number 1 back in the day, never a safety. If you were going to, like right now, if I asked you off the top of your head, name a defensive player who was better than Caleb Downs that's played at Ohio State.
Name a defensive player
that's been better. You would say out loud, better player. Okay, right on. The answer is there. The fact you had to hesitate, and this is the greatest program of all time, is a statement.
The first guy that popped in my mind was Antoine Winfield, but I'm biased. I loved him.
You think Antoine Winfield was a better corner than Caleb Downs was a safety?
No, I don't.
You honestly believe that?
No, I don't.
And I love Antoine Winfield cementing his pads that never got checked. But
Jack Tatum. What about
Okay,
Randy?
but
What about Randy? God dang
Gradishar, sure.
Let's just start going down the. What about Marcus freaking Merrick, man?
When you got to go back to single bar people, you've proven my point. He's just spectacular.
Sean Springs. Sean Springs was tremendous. He was like the number 3 pick of the draft. He won Big Ten Player of the Year. He had 0 interceptions.
I know.
No one would throw his way. So I'm not going to argue with you, Sean. Or I'm not going to argue. I'm just playing devil's advocate with you. Caleb Downs. I love Caleb Downs.
And just the fact that we can even have that discussion and not be silly. You know what I mean? So I literally I think Ed Reed is that's the highest compliment I can give to anybody. And as a prospect, he's better than Ed Reed. That's a fact. Ed Reed was not picked until the 20s. That's a fact. You know why? Wasn't fast enough. Sure.
Where was Sean Taylor picked at? He wasn't picked
6th.
6th? Okay, there you go. Jeez.
Now, Sean Taylor, I covered Sean Taylor. Literally, his whole career. I was there. The most shocking phone call I've ever received as a sports writer was the call that Sean Taylor had passed. We were covering that. My guy told me the night before he should be all right. Next morning, it was shocking. Now, if you go back and look, though, his best years were when he played with Ryan Clark, because Clark would tell him where to go all the time. So that's another thing I would say for people who are worried about a new safety back there. Caleb will just tell him where to go every play. You can do that at safety. Dexter Jackson won an MVP playing next to John Lynch, and John Lynch was in the Super Bowl telling him where to go, and the ball went there. So Caleb Downs is that guy. He's the highest football IQ on the field at all times and the best play. So the question is going to be all year, how high can a safety be drafted? That's really what, I mean, we're draft nerds. I think he could be a top 5 pick. Absolutely. Now, quarterbacks will get picked in front of him. Caden Proctor probably will get picked in front of him. If a certain receiver was eligible, he would probably get picked in front of him.
Right.
If you're going to have to be an outlandish talent, you're going to have to be a no-doubter to get picked before Caleb Downs. We should just enjoy this year with him. Literally, enjoy every snap, because there's a really good chance we could get the number 1 safety in every recruiting cycle for the rest of time and not get someone better than Caleb Downs. That's how good he is. I mean, I cannot be more hyperbolic until we talk about Jeremiah Smith. So, and then the other safety, I like Jalen McClain, man. Jalen McClain's got a little nasty in him, a little East Coast from my Jersey high school roots that I like. He's coming to knock your block off, which I like. Jermaine Matthews would be on my list of guys who have the chance to really, really amp their stock. Corners at Ohio State are very highly regarded. IGB, Oven Midsummer. Yep. I'll know the first few snaps. If he's just literally trying to pull a high school wrestler move. Was he a high school wrestler? He might have been. No. I think he was, Dave. Wasn't he? No?
No.
That one, I will say the most, that's not true. I got a lot of texts this year during games about IGB with exclamation points, people writing in all caps, screaming at me through my phone. Just don't do it anymore. You're talking about a guy that went early in the year. You remember he was being talked about as like, oh, he might be a first-round pick. He literally did not let go of the opposition since then. He led the nation, I think, in average pass interference calls per game. You just can't do that. That's why he's back, by the way. He's only back to prove that he can cover you without actually pulling your jersey to the point where everyone on this team knows. He's also the master of this, which is my least favorite thing in football. The guy who's doing this, and there's a flag in the air behind them. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
No, catch that.
Yeah.
So I'm optimistic about him. Hopefully, Matt Patricia is like a fresh NFL voice that can go up to him and say, dude, I just came from the NFL. You're giving money away. Stop. And if he does that, he made arguably the best play of the year at Penn State. So he's got it in him. We know that. Another Jersey guy. And then we'll see after that. Corners are not an easy spot, man. Aaron Scott and Devin Sanchez. Those are big time recruits, man. I mean, I could see there being discussion later on down the line. Like, can you believe our backups at one point in time were Aaron Scott and Devin Sanchez? Embarrassment of riches. So very, very optimistic there. And look, another guy who can recruit is our defensive backs coach, Mr. Walton, can recruit his tail off.
Yes, sir.
If he was not on a staff with Brian Hartline and even Tyler Bowen, who's blocked out of the blocks like a menace, he'd probably get a little more credit. But he's put together quite a cadre of defensive backs. There's multiple pros in there. There are guys who aren't going to start that are going to start in the NFL eventually.
All right, we'll save the Jim Knowles discussion for another day. This is Mr. Bucknuts has been doing a lot of looking back on Bucknuts stories. This is the return of the Bucknuts radio hour, apparently. Almost an hour, but great stuff from Dan Rubin. Thank you to Dan. Thanks to all of you. We appreciate it very much. Hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Go Bucks. Still basking.